Welcome to Donate TV, the channel where we discuss all things project management. I'm your host, John Hyde, and today's show is called Running a Business is a Lot Like Managing a Project. And we think that that's the case because with projects and business, you need to have clear objectives. You've got to make sure you're managing the scope of what you're delivering, so you're not trying to deliver too much or too little. You've got to manage budgets. You've got to make sure that the money coming in is going to pay for the money that needs to go out. And you've got to be creative as well. That's another key part of both things. So I'm delighted to be joined today by Lisa Barry. Lisa is a really successful entrepreneur. She's into getting your message right and getting it out online. She'll probably tell us a bit better herself. Tell us, Lisa, what do you do and what's your business called?
So my business is really creatively called Lisa Barry Online.
Great.
I spent a long time coming up with that name. And the idea of it is that I support predominantly women in business to write copy for their website, blogging, social media, so that they can communicate with their ideal clients and grow their business.
Fantastic. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I know you've been really busy with lots of different initiatives.
Yeah,
that have been
very busy.
You've had really good take up. And I know that you're helping other people really get their message right and get it out there, which is just fabulous. So what we're going to talk about is, as per the title, it's all about what's the kind of link between running a business and running projects. Got a few questions that we'll go through, and let's talk around those, a few minutes on each one. So let's start. So you are running a successful business. Well done. I know it takes an awful lot to pull that off.
Yeah. A lot of years.
Yeah. I want you to cast your mind back to the early days when you first had the idea of starting the business, and think about how you actually sort of managed yourself and managed your work as you got things off the ground. How did you fit it all in?
Well, to be honest with you, my biggest thing I would say is that I didn't know what I was doing. The last thing I would have considered myself as doing is managing any sort of project at the beginning. It was just me working on my own, feeling in the dark, trying to earn some money because I was at home with my babies. My husband was at work long hours and it wasn't cutting it financially. And I just needed to get some money in. So it really wasn't like that. And then the problem is that then as I started to grow, because I didn't have those things in place, because I just started in the dark, I actually came across a lot of stumbling blocks, and growth was a lot long. I could have grown a lot quicker if I'd had things in place before. It's one of the things that, I work with a lot of people in the early stages of their business, not necessarily as before they start, but in those early days. And I almost kind of cast my mind back and wish that I had someone somebody there to guide me, help me understand. You've got to think of yourself, because it was just me sitting at home with two babies around me, a 3-year-old and a baby when I started, and then I had another baby, and I couldn't have. That's project management. You've got babies at home and everything else, and trying to kind of get work done in between. So I was copywriting, so I was writing for other people's websites, and trying to do that when you've got children calling over you. That was my biggest project management at the time. But what I try and get people to recognise now is you need to have that vision of what you want to be, which I didn't have at the time. I didn't know. But you need to have that vision of what you want to be, and then create systems around it that support that growth. Because if you can't do it on your own, and just like managing a project, that whoever's leading that cannot do it on their own. You need a support network. And when I first began, I did not have that, and it caused me a lot of problems, caused me a lot of lacking in confidence, because I was trying to make myself do things that were not my skill set, because I was trying to do it all on my own. There was a long transition period to get to where I am today. Well, 7 years. And I could have done it a lot. I could have shortcut it, but I don't regret that in the sense, because those lessons were learnt, and then I can pass those lessons on to other people.
Yes.
So it was the journey that I took, and I didn't know any other way. I was doing the best that I could do in that situation, so that's all I can go by. But definitely, when you say cast your mind back to the early days, it's not an example I'd like to to say follow this example. In fact, do the opposite of what I did in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, you've raised a number of interesting points there. You know, managing your own family, managing a household, all of that is, you know, like you say, it's a big project in itself.
Yeah.
And then you've got to manage the business, and you don't know when you start how much work's going to come in, when it's going to come in. So how are you going to fit all that in around all of your other commitments? So it sounds like you've done a really good job of, you know, learning by trial and error.
Definitely a lot of trial and error. Yeah, 100%. That's what it was all about the trial and error.
And then as you say, reaching out to a support network is so important, and trying to
Godsend, like
get advice from other people.
Changed everything.
Yeah, share the load a bit and get people to bounce ideas off.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite terrifying, isn't it? Just operating on your own and sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, how's all this going to work? I've got no idea how to tackle whatever it is, X, Y, Z. Okay,
I have many moments like that. Many moments.
Okay, so great. So then coming forward and thinking more about how business is for you today, and I know that you're really doing ever so well. How I can see from what's going on Facebook and so on. So now that you've got various clients and various projects on the go, have you kind of taken a more structured approach to managing work now, or is it?
Yeah, completely. And one of the things that I've learned is to not take on too many projects. That's a huge part of it. So I've changed my business model from being a service provider in the sense of providing copywriting services to actually teaching, training and mentorship. So that transition was a tough one, because I was still keeping one foot in one corner and one in the, you know, I was trying to I didn't want to let go of the old without making sure the new was going to work.
Yes.
And so that created that transition period of moving forward was really quite tough. And you know, it required me to work a lot longer and a lot harder to kind of do everything. Again, at this point, I'd figured out that I couldn't do it alone, and I wouldn't have been able to do it alone. So I did outsource, I did get help, I did have support. But mentally, as much as anything else, having those two, like making that transition was really hard. So I think one of the biggest things that one of the things I used to do even when I was just copywriting was I would work on some quite big projects. So there would be, you know, very, very successful 6-figure business owners who would, you know, I'd be part of big teams. So I was part of their team, and I'd be working on several different projects with that person. And then I'd have different ones here and different ones there. So, you know, taking on too much really is damaging. Mentally, physically, spiritually.
There's a thing about resilience.
Financially.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you know, the temptation is, oh, this is great, this is growth, and you know, you don't want to turn people down, because you never know if that work's going to come back again if you say no once. But so you've got that side of it, but then there's the reality of trying to deliver too much at once, which isn't a very nice feeling.
No, and the way that I am, I didn't want to let people down, so I would deliver, but at the expense of my own well-being, at the expense of my own sleep, at the expense of time with my own children, at the expense of being able to cook a nutritious meal. You know, it was like because if a client said jump, I would say how high. Yeah. Because I lived very much in a lack mentality of because work was so slow and so difficult at the beginning, when I started to pick up and I started to get more work, I had that thing of, if I say no, what if there's no work next month?
Yeah. That's
And
the
that's
big
the
fear,
real
isn't it?
thing when
Yeah.
you run your own business, is what if there's nothing next month? And so that lack of faith, I suppose, really drove me to make decisions that were not healthy and were not helpful, because at the end of the day, as much as I was delivering, I still don't think in some cases I was delivering as good as I could.
That's the other thing, that could be the compromise, couldn't it? If you've got that many deadlines at once, something's got to give, and it's okay, so you spend less time on each piece of work, and then you get the hit on
and you're
quality.
tired,
Yeah.
and you're irritable, and
Yeah.
your energy and your heart isn't in it in the same way. You're not as creative as you could be, because your attention is split in so many different ways.
Yes.
There's so much. I'd like
really
to go back and shake myself and say, it's okay, you don't have to do this.
And I think, again, the parallels with project management are really strong there, because project manager is responsible for making sure that the scope of what is trying to be delivered is achievable, and they've got responsibility to themselves and to their team, and they've got to be looking at everybody, saying, is everybody productive? And there's two sides to that. Have people got enough work to do, or are we trying to give them too much? And you've got to be watching out for signs for
the
burnout
balance,
and
constant balance.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to tread, and again, going back to trial and error, there is an element of that 100%. The big thing, I mean, at the time when I was doing that with the copywriting, I was just on my own, so the only person I had to listen to was myself, and I wasn't doing a very good job at that. But as I've got bigger and I've got a team, I now have to listen to them. And that's, I imagine, very similar to project management. Like how you tread that balance is by talking and staying connected to the people that you're working with.
Yes.
So that they can communicate openly with you if they've got too much work. They don't feel they can't. Like, so if I'm putting too much on my team, I've got one team member that's really having a really hard time trying to sort visas out and stuff for her family. And I'm in the middle of a really big challenge and launch for my business, and so I can't put too much on her. I know that because of that, so I have to listen to her and know what and have that open line of communication, so she can say, like, I just can't, I need to say no to this, and I need her to be open with me, like I wasn't when I didn't say no to people. I don't want people to feel that way with me. I want people to be able to communicate with me, so that I can, I don't want her doing work that isn't the right standard, isn't the right quality.
That's
and
right.
I don't want her burning out. And all
I think managing relationships within the team as well as with clients is a key skill on running a business and running a project. And if you can't have those honest conversations with your teammates, then you'll start running into problems, because things will fester away below the radar, and then suddenly something will come to light where things are going wrong, and you're like, oh, this piece of work isn't looking the way that I expected it to. And the thing is, if you haven't had that honest conversation, there could be other issues, like you say, things going on in their personal lives which are affecting work. And if you're not taking that whole person view, then you're not able to sort of maybe head off those issues earlier and work with people and generally create a kind of positive working environment. So,
I think it's very short-sighted when people don't take into account the whole person. Because to get the best work, you need to have the whole person. They're not just there for their skill set. They are a whole person with, home lives and fears and confidence issues and desires and goals themselves. And if you can listen and nurture and develop those relationships, then they want to do the best for you, because they're invested in you, they're invested in your success or the project's success, and they see their contribution to it as part of their own well-being and their own success. And so that's really powerful.
You've got me thinking about a time, I remember, I've heard it a few times actually, where people on projects have said, oh, the project manager, he just refers to us as resources, and and we're just seen as assets to be exploited, and
God, I hate that
and they
so
don't
much.
have that sort of that human connection, and when that's missing, you know, you get into all sorts of issues because people, yeah, they just feel exploited. They feel like you know, all you're interested in is their output. You know, you're not
And
taking.
the most frustrating thing about that is you're not going to get the same quality output. That's
That's
the
right.
thing. That's the
Yeah.
if you are really interested in output, the best thing you can do is take an interest in the human, because
Yes.
it's the humans that provide the output. Like,
That's right.
common sense to
Yeah.
me, but I know some people miss it, and
Yeah.
yeah,
That's really interesting. I love that. Yeah. If you want the best output, take an interest in the whole human. I think that's a great takeaway. So just a couple more things to talk about. Managing risk. So risk is a big issue in projects, and running a business. And I suppose it's all about trying to avoid basically being tripped up, trying to avoid falling into that
the wrong
manhole.
time to talk to me about this, because right now we've had a massive issue. I've literally just launched I've opened the cart on my mentorship program, so I have people wanting to buy, and PayPal is not talking to my website, and the only thing we have for them to pay through is PayPal now.
Okay.
So there's a mismanagement of risk.
Sure.
So there we go.
So something's come out of the blue.
Inaction. It happened literally last night. I had messages from people saying they were trying to buy and they couldn't. And I've got my team right now trying to sort it out. But we think there's a problem with WooCommerce on the website, and it's not talking to PayPal, and it's
And this is what
mad.
happens in business and projects all the time, is things come in from left field, and no matter how good you are at sort of thinking forwards and, you know, thinking about what could go wrong, things always slip through the net and surprise you.
So we said next time we'll have multiple payment options so that we can immediately, like at the moment we're sort of scrambling around. That's what's happening right now. Like, I'm can see messages coming through with conversations that my team are having right now, and they're trying to sort it out. I haven't got like tech. It's like, I ain't got a clue what they're talking about, so I'm just getting out of it. I'm just like, let me know when it's sorted, girls. But yeah, it's I actually was using 2 payment options, but one of them is unavailable now, and I thought, oh great, it'll be all simple, we'll just go with this one, you know. Keep it, simplify it. And actually that decision has
caused a
not
bit
worked out.
Okay,
but you live and learn. So
of course.
managing risk, from my perspective, I would say I'm still learning.
Sure. And I think, I mean, just some insight from our side. So what we like to do on projects with Donate is we say, you know, at least once a month, hopefully maybe fortnightly, actually take an hour of your time out and look forward at your plan for the next, say, 3 to 6 months, and come at it from all different angles. So think about, so we have this acronym, which is PESTLE, which you might have come across before: political, economic, social, technical, legal, and environmental. And so just look at your plan and think about, ask yourself the question, what could possibly go wrong from those kinds of angles for each of the things that we're hoping to deliver in the next, say, 3 to 6 months. Make yourself a list of the things that could go wrong. You can assess them in terms of the likelihood. So how likely do you think it's going to go wrong or not? So 10 could be, yeah, it's almost certainly going to happen. 0 is it's fine, it's not going to happen.
My problem with that would be is my assessment would probably be too low, because I'm like, everything will be fine. Yeah, nothing will happen. But luckily, mind you, that's why I have a team, because I know that one particular member of my team is very cautious of everything, and would probably, where I would say everything was like low, she'd rate everything as high, and so somewhere in between we'd come up with a happy medium. But yeah, that's a really good idea. I'll take that on board. Thank you.
And you can combine it with, so you've got the likelihood, and then you've got the impact as well that you need to think about. So for each thing that could go wrong, think about, how significant would the impact be if this happened? Is it going to cost me money in the order of kind of half of the annual turnover or 10%? And so you can assess what the impact is. And then if you multiply the two, you can come up with a score, and then you can prioritize your risks, all the things that.
So which ones you take action to?
Yeah, that's right. So you might come up with a top 5 and say, okay, these are the ones that I really need to worry about.
Risks.
So that's
God,
just
I'm
a little.
just managing one right now.
So it's just good practice to keep regularly thinking about it.
Yeah.
And looking
I think I'm very much in my nature where I am is not trying to think of the things that could go wrong. Try and think of how great things are going to work out. But you have to look at those different angles. And like I say, I am a work in progress, and so is my business. And that is something that, and as I'm up leveling and, my team's growing and the people I'm working with more people all the time, those risks become bigger because there's more moving parts of it.
And I think, to the other thing to say is, when you are a small business like yours and my businesses are, it's just so hard. I say, find that extra hour once a fortnight, and you're thinking, ideal, I don't have another hour.
This is where I can get somebody else to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's outsourcing.
Yeah, indeed. So final question then. I'm just interested in sorts of tools that you use in your business that help you. So in the world of project management, we've got lots of different tools around productivity. You can go for a simple approach, like just using a spreadsheet-based approach. So you can literally list out your to-do list as a plan in a spreadsheet. Just have a few columns for what's the task, who's the owner, when's it due by. Or you can use specific productivity tools like Trello.
Trello is my favourite.
Okay.
I love Trello.
Yeah.
I create content plans for people, and we do them on Trello as well, so people can manage their social media content. And because I recommend it to so many people, I've got like a gold account, and they constantly say, you get another month on gold account, you get another month. I just think I must have lifetime access now to gold account. I just recommend it to so many people, and it is out just because I don't do it to get the gold account. I do it because I love the system.
Yeah.
There's Asana is another one I use, but I've used that more because other people have used it. Yeah. So like my operational business manager, that's her job title. She uses Asana, and she's like, look, Trello is okay, it's basic, but Asana it's far more comprehensive for what you want to do now. Okay. I personally can't get my head around it. Like I just find Trello, the simplicity of it is what I really like. Yeah, me too. And that's why, Asana might have more capabilities. It might be able to do more. But I think probably Trello has more that I'm not even touching the surface of. But on its basic level, I just love how easy it is. You can even color code things for different people that they have to do, the different cards or lists. And I love Trello.
I love it because it's this whole idea of visual project management. So you've got, the way I use it, I just keep it really simple. I've got a kind of to-do list is the first column. Then in the middle, I've got in progress, and then I've got done.
Yeah. So we've done that on a lot of projects I've been involved in, and then you can color code who's doing what on the to-do list. So and then they can move it along, and people can share the boards, so you've got more people can see the same thing.
Exactly, that collaborative bit where you can just have a look at the screen and see it at a snapshot. What work is currently in progress,
I think that's why I prefer Trello to Asana, because at a snapshot on Asana, I can't work out where I am. Yeah. Whereas on Trello, it's literally, because you can literally move the cards from one to another.
That's it.
I just adore how visual that is and how it's instant. I don't have to go in and look and read comments. I can if I want. I can go to each card, and there could be a whole thread of comments on that. Yeah. But if I just want to know where something is, I can look at it instantly. And
Yeah.
I for me, that's gold.
really
But
powerful, because
my OBM is trying to convert me, but she's not having a very good job. We're not doing very well. I'm still stuck in Trello.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think, like you say, for running a business and running projects, knowing exactly where a particular piece of work is at is really important, because you'll have
Instantly,
because you've got so many things going on.
Mm.
You know, it's impossible to keep track of it without that sort of one tool bringing that view all together.
Yeah, I love it. And I use them for everybody doing for like any actual work. We all use Google. So
Yes.
Google Docs, Google like, it's not Excel, I don't know what they call it. Google
Sheets.
I've got one
Google
of them
Sheets.
open. Yeah, I've got one of them open right now. I can't remember. I went to call it Excel, like stuck in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a copywriter, well, technically not anymore, but I don't even have Word anymore. I just do everything in Google on Google Docs, because that live, you know, I can be in another country to someone else.
Yeah.
And we can be working on the same document, talking on Zoom. So what we're talking on now, that's another really good tool that I use daily. So I'm talking on Zoom, we're sharing a document, they're in another country, but I can see what they're doing and they can see what I'm doing. And that's really sort powerful. Of live a way that we can do, you know, dynamic tool, I find
and you think,
valuable.
You think back to the old days where we'd be sat there typing away on Word and then waiting,
sending
an email.
Yeah, and you'd have to save it. And because this is when I first started. So say I was doing something and it had revisions. So I'd be like, you know, save it like version 1, and then they'd send it back with an edit 1. And then I'd be like, okay, I'll edit that. Okay, this is version 2. And I mean, I'd have stack load. I mean, it's so...
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much better. It takes a bit of getting used to when you've grown up with Word, like the features are a little bit different, but yeah, it's just so much easier. And what's the other one I use? Acuity for appointments.
Yes, yeah, I've booked an appointment with you myself on that.
Yeah,
and it was really good from my perspective, from the end user.
Well, it's got to be good from the user's perspective, because if it's hard for someone to make an appointment with you, then they won't. And if you have to have the to and fro of times that are available, that can take time, and everybody is time poor. You know, that's the one thing that pretty much no matter what sector you're working in or what job you do, the one thing nobody has is time. So if you need to nail someone down and you need to talk to them, then wasting time trying to nail a time down is just such a waste of time. So to be able to just, I mean, it's a free tool, which I love, but I actually have the paid version, which is like £15 a month, and it allows me to take payments from people when they book. So I can still send free appointments out, but I can set different appointment types. So if it's a paid session, they actually pay through PayPal, when obviously that works, and they're able to pay, and so there's none of that exchanging of money issues either, because it's all done and dusted and sorted early on, and the whole thing just easy. It's just it's about these, like, I've never considered myself like techie or like tools, but these things, if they can save time, then they are priceless.
That's it, and they're saving time, and they're giving your customers a better experience, because your customer's able to, you know, in that scenario, they want to get an appointment with you, so they know straight away what your availability is. They can check theirs and get it booked, and it just works.
Just an easy system, and the easier you can make life, the better.
Life's complicated enough.
Running a project, running a business, none of it's easy. So if you can use these tools and these systems that just take that pressure off you, and just that's one job you haven't got to worry about. That's one thing you haven't got to worry about, and that's gold dust. It really is.
Awesome. Okay, Lisa. Well, that's the end of the questions around sort of looking for the links between running projects and running a business.
Quite a lot, I think we found.
We have, it is. I think our initial hypothesis is probably true. Yes, there are
definitely. We can
good similarities.
Officially conclude the research has been done. It's exactly the same.
Oh, okay. Well, Talking about time management, I know your time is very precious, so I'm going to wrap up. So thank you ever so much for joining me
You're very
today
welcome. It's a
on
pleasure.
Donate TV. It's been really great to have you on here and to have you all of your thoughts on how to run a business successfully. Do you want to just tell us before we go about how the audience can connect with you?
Yes, so Lisa Barry Online is my business name. So lisabarryonline.com, I believe it is. I'm on Facebook, but also my favourite place to be is LinkedIn. So Lisa Barry on LinkedIn. And social media is my second home. I think I live there more than I live in my real house. So come and find me on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm John Hyde from Donate, donate.com. If you'd like to join us on a future episode, please drop me a line, and do please connect with Lisa. She's a fabulous person to know.
Thank you so much, John.
Until next time, goodbye.